Welcome back to Blam Blam Truckers. I'm Bees. I'm doing a solo video about Druids. Yeah, Druids. The class is not great at anything, but it's good at a little bit of everything, except tanking. So we've been comparing this to the 6 roles that are available for groups. This is about grouping as a Druid. It is not as a single player class, as a soloing class. Druids are phenomenal soloers, and that's because they have enough crowd control and enough damage to get the job done. They're good at, you'll find that the classes that tend to be a little good at a little bit of everything tend to make the best soloers. Druids do not have the... Okay, let's go through this. We have the 3 classics. Tanking. They're not going to be tanking. That's a no-no. Healing. They are the 3rd best healers in the game. It goes Cleric, Shaman. Some people say for grouping it's Shaman, then Cleric, then Druids, then Paladins. Then nobody else really is a healer, except under emergency circumstances. Very emergency circumstances. Rangers can help with healing. Beastlers can help with healing. Bards can help with healing. Bards can help a lot with healing. Because of the way the songs work. But for direct healing, for being able to keep up with a group at full speed, you want a Cleric, you want a Shaman, or you want a Druid. Those are your 3 options. In a pinch, you'll take a Paladin. Paladins are generally not built to have the mana capacity necessary to do the healing, but they get the same healing spells Druids get up to level 50, just a few levels later. So it is possible. Anyway, Druids can heal. They're a good healer. They're the worst of the 3 main healers, but the worst of the 3 main healers still make them a good healer. Damage. Druids do good damage. They don't do great damage until end game, where they actually get some pretty amazing spells. Like the 60, they're like around 60. They get, I think they can do more damage with a single spell than a wizard can, as far as single target damage goes. They get targeted AEs, but that's only until 60, and that's assuming wizards aren't using range spells. That's very technical. I'm not going to explain that. We'll cover it when we do wizards. So Druids get direct damage spells. They get good ones. They get very good ones. I don't know if they're better than Clerics' direct damage spells, but they could be. They're right in there with Clerics, which puts them below Wizards and Mages, but not by a lot. For damage, they also get a damage shield. They get the 2nd best damage shield in the game. You'll notice how Druids are not sitting here at the top of any one particular class. They're sitting above average on all of these charts, though. Their damage shield, the Thorns, instead of fire with mages, their damage shield lasts longer by a lot than the mage one does. The mage is quick. It's like 10 minutes. You got it. It's annoying for a mage to have to keep rebuffing it for most mages, because they're focused on damage and their pet. And debuffing. Mages debuff. But we'll get to that when we talk about mages. Druids, on the other hand, that the damage that they actually put out through their damage shield, and it lasts like, the first one lasts like 15 minutes. Excuse me. And as it goes on, they just last longer and longer and do more and more damage. Yeah. They also have dots. They have excellent dots. So, it is a toss-up who has better... It's not. Necros have the best dots in the game. Shamans have the 2nd best dots in the game. Druids come in at a modest and presentable number 3. Notice again, they're not topping the charts here. Dots are used more for raids than for grouping. I'm not saying you can't dot in a group. I'm saying you're not getting your mana's worth if you do. So what are the other 3 roles? Puller. Well, outside, Druids are fantastic. They get the Harmony line of spells. Harmony is an AE, or AOE, lull. So we're going to go back with Megatron here, or Bone Crusher. We'll grab Bone Crusher for this one. Bone Crusher is looking around. He has an aggro radius like this. You hit him with a lull or a Harmony, and bam, his aggro radius goes like this. And you now, Sunstreaker can walk relatively much closer to him, or better yet, attack his buddy Megatron, who's standing right next to him. Bone Crusher is lulled, Megatron is not. You pull Megatron, and Bone Crusher doesn't even notice. Harmony. Harmony hits multiple targets. It's very nice. It's got a nice, decent radius to it. But it can only be cast outside, so its value is dependent on the zone. Beyond that, they can root. If they need to, they can root. And I thought their root was a damage over time spell. It is not. It is a direct damage root. So you hit them with the root, and they take damage before the root takes hold. So, yeah, that's a neat little trick. Oh, let's go back to damage for a minute, shall we? Druids can charm animals. Charmed pets do redonkulous amounts of damage. We haven't really talked about it much except during the Bard. Charmed pets are game-breaking right now. Eventually, things start to level out a lot. But charmed pets are just game-breaking. The problem Druids have is the only way they have to control them is to root them. So if you're going... They have a stun, but their stun only lasts 1 second. It is an interrupt as a stun. It is not a stun and keep them stunned for long enough to recast Charm. Charm only takes 4 seconds to cast, but when they're only stunned for 1 second, and it takes 1 second for your spells to recycle so that you can cast another spell, you haven't gained anything by casting a 1 second stun, except aggro and an interrupt. It makes a great interrupt. If you've got a mob there that's starting to cast, whack them with your stun. That's great. Putting that aside, it can't be used. It doesn't really help you at all in recharming your pet. So when charm breaks from your animal pet, root them, walk away, not far away, but out of melee range, recast charm. You want your lowest level root because that lasts the shortest amount of time. So grasping roots at level 2 lasts approximately 12 seconds at level 2, and I think it goes up to about 30 seconds is the max it goes up to. No, it's not 30 seconds. Hold on. I'm going to look this up. Doobie-doo. Right click. Open a new tab. Flip over to new tab. Look, it changed with me on the screen. Amazing what technology can do. So down here, it does 10 damage and preventing their movement for 12 seconds, 2 ticks, up to 8 ticks. So what's 8 times 6? 8 times 6 is 48. It can last up to 48 seconds. 48 seconds in the grand scheme of grouping is not that much time. Your charm lasts longer than that. Root them, move away, recharm. Your stun, it only lasts 1 second. It is not like an enchanter where this. Well, we'll cover this when we cover enchanters, which I think are next. That's how you do it. Pay attention, druids out there. You want the charm pet. You want it when you're grouping. It does crazy damage. Get the charm pet. Make sure your charmed pet doesn't have poison like a snake. Anything that can hurt you, or if it does, have cure poison up. Because I used a snake for a while, and that was awesome. People were annoyed at me, but that's all I was in the game in the group for, was to bring in my charm pet and do damage with it. So that and buffing. I was buffing and charming. That's all I was doing. I was very charming. I'm a dork. All right. You can pull as a druid. Outside, especially, you're an amazing puller. You have a root. Use your root, and that goes into CC. Use your root for crowd control. Does that make you an amazing crowd control person? No. Oh, the other reason druids are good pullers. You have snare, and you have Spirit of the Wolf. So you can buff you're the first class we've talked about who gets Spirit of the Wolf. It is a single target spell that you can cast on others or yourself. You get it at level 10. Use it. You're never going to not want to be sewed, unless you're on a horse or any other kind of mount. They got all sorts of crazy, wacky mounts today. It's like the Wacky Racers back with Hanna-Barbera in the world of Wacky Racers. I'm maxing out my mic here, and I'm not even trying. Wacky Racers. So, mounts. I'm back in the game. It was a long day at work, and Buse and I recorded 2 videos. It took us 2 hours to do. Hopefully, he will get them processed and posted very quickly. Wacky racers. So, okay. So you have Spirit of Wolf up, so you can outrun the mob. You can also snare them so that they run slower. So you can really outrun the mob. You can use that in pulling. It does help quite a bit in pulling. It has them come back at different times. So if you're pulling 2 or 3 mobs, then the one you didn't snare is the one that gets back first, and the warrior starts beating on it, and it gives the enchanter time to mez, or whoever's doing crowd control, to pause or root the other mob. I know I'm really heavy on root crowd control, and that's because I play. There's not always enchanters around. There just isn't. There's not always enough enchanters around for your group, which is sad and it makes you cry, but there's ways around it, and root crowd control is one of them. Spirit of Wolf is awesome. I call it S-O-W, Spirit of Wolf. Other people call it Sow, S-O-W, Spirit of Pig. No, Spirit of Wolf. Both are viable pronunciations of that word. Sowing seeds, boys. Sowing seeds. All right. Pull. Crowd. Again, if you have root, you can crowd control. You're not going to be as good as it as Mez. Mez is just phenomenal. But one of the things you can do with root crowd control is you pull them to the side. You're a druid. You root them. You drop 2 dots on them, and you let them cook. It's called root rotting. I do it as a necro all the time when I'm handling crowd control, because necro's mez only lasts 18 seconds. So I pull them to the side, pull them away from the group, drop my root on them, step away so I'm out of their melee range, drop 2 dots on them, and let them cook. And when the tank finally gets to them, and the group finally gets to them, they're at half health, or they have a quarter of their health gone, half their health gone. It is not something I see anyone else doing, but it is something that I do. I do a lot of unconventional things. There's other people who do this. If this gets a lot of views and people start commenting on it, they're going to be like, I do that all the time. Congratulations. I certainly didn't come up with the idea. I just don't see other people doing it when I'm grouping with them, which is I'm perfectly fine with. I'm not here. When I'm gaming with you, when we're grouping, I'm not going to tell you how to do your job unless you're doing it really bad and endangering the group. I'm going to let you enjoy your play experience. If you ask for advice, I have tons of it. I've been playing this game on and off and other MMOs since 1999. I know a lot of tricks, and I'm sharing them here with you in this video. I'm happy to share them in the video. But when you're grouping, unless you ask, I'm not, or unless you're screwing up real bad, I'm not going to tell you how to play your class. The exception, of course, being warriors who don't have provoke.
Infuriating. Absolutely infuriating.
All right, back to druids. The last thing, so we did pulling, we did crowd control, buffer, debuffer. Druids are excellent buffers. They don't really get too many debuffs until later in the game. But as far as buffing goes, if you have a druid in the group, you don't need anyone else to buff. I'm not saying you shouldn't take advantage of everyone in the group. I'm just saying that it would be nice, and frankly, clarity if you have an enchanter or Restoration, Mana Song for bards, because that's one thing druids do not buff. But their skin line. So it starts with skin of like wood, which they get at doobie and doobie doo. They do not get it at level 1. They do not get it at level 2, or 3, or 4, or 5, which is when they get harmony, or 6. Skin like wood, baby. Where are you? Strength of earth. You are the one thing druids are amazing at is buffing strength. They get the best strength buffs in the game. Yeah, they just do. You are buffing melee damage if you're a druid. Where is skin like wood? I could have sworn they had it by level 9. Protection of Wood they have, but that's a Luckland spell, which means I missed it. Strength of Earth. Invisibility versus animals. Tree form. Skin. As skin. Where are you? Oh, it's level 1. Ha! Wow. I'm competent. This has been a very long day. I've been going full blast since 5 o'clock this morning. And it is now 10 o'clock at night. I should probably take a shower and go to bed. Or go to bed and take a shower. Whatever. How would I go to bed and then take a shower? I mean, I could get it. There's got to be some time lapse in there, right? Skin like wood. Increase armor class. You've heard me rail about how amazing armor class is. This is the buff that if you're going for pure armor class, you want to replace one of the cleric buffs. We talked about that in the cleric video. And increase max hit points. So your skin line is going to increase AC, and it's going to increase your max hit points. It's wonderful. There are 3 buffs everybody get. Druids have 4 main buffs. 4. Strength, which you really only need to put on the melee players. Skin like wood, which you should probably put on everyone in the group just in case. It's not that expensive, and frankly, everybody needs extra AC and armor and hit points. Thistles or thorns or whatever you want to call it, your damage shield. That goes on the main tank, and if the puller asks for it, it goes on the puller. If you have a idiot who is grabbing aggro, like rogues who don't know how to evade, or whatever, you can toss a damage shield on them. They're cheap to cast, and they excuse me, they make up for any mana use. They're one of your most mana efficient spells in the game. Damage shields will always be. Assuming the person wearing it that you cast it on is actually taking hits, damage shields are going to be some of the most mana efficient spells in the game. They're just going to do tons of damage compared to the amount of mana it costs to cast them. I will give you an example. If I can find where do they get their first Thorns line? Doobie, doobie, doo. You also get Fire Fist, which is useless. It's really a ranger spell. But you get it. It increases your attack damage. You're not going to be whacking people unless you're soloing. And even then, you're really going to be root rotting and kiting because you're one of the best kiters ever. Arguably better than Necros. Necros will say not, but just amazing damage you can do. So to kite, you get something mad at you, and then you cast a couple dots on it. You cast a snare on it, not necessarily in that order. I would probably snare first. But you snare it, you cast a couple dots on it, and you run it around. And if you're bored, you toss some direct damage on it, which Druids have great direct damage. Anyway. Not as good as Wizards, not as good as Mages, but really good. And then your dots are excellent, which you won't be using in groups. Where is that Thorns spell? Thorns, thorns, thorns. It may not be thorns. Wow, we're going for a while. You get Skin of Rock before you get thorns. Calm Animal. Useful. Careless Lightning, which is a single target, despite being called careless. Your next dot, you start getting your teleports. And here we are. Shield of Barbs. And then Barb Coat for yourself. You also get a self damage shield, just so you know. That stacks with your targetable damage shield. So Shield of Barbs, let us open this up in a new tab because we like tabs. I'm not saying we like Tab Soda. They are not one of our sponsors, as we have no sponsors. But Tab Soda, if you want to sponsor us and get your message out to at least almost a dozen people, we will take that sponsorship. Increase damage shield by 3. So it does 3 damage. At level 25, it does 12 damage. Okay, 12 damage is a lot. Let's assume this is level 25. So you're doing 12 damage every time somebody hits your target, whoever's wearing your Shield of Barbs. We go down, and it lasts 6.1 minutes to 15 minutes at level 47. So at 17, you're doing 3 minutes per hit for 6 minutes. You're doing 3 damage per hit for 6 minutes. And it has a mana cost of 60, which means your tank that you put this on needs to be hit 20 times for you to be 1 damage per mana. If he is hit and getting hit 20 times, let me tell you, as somebody who tanks a bit, is not rare to happen within 6 minutes. If I'm constantly pulling, it's going to happen. Each mob hits me at least 10 times. That's 2 mobs, gets me to even on. 2 mobs will get me there easily if I have a great group. 4 mobs will now get me 2 damage per mana, which is about what wizards get for their DDs. Not their AEs used as single target direct damage, but for their single target direct damage, for a long time, wizards are about 1 mana to 2 damage. If I get hit by 6 mobs, it's 3 times the damage. If I take out 6 mobs in 6 minutes, that is not a leap. That is easily doable. It takes us, in a good group, you will be going through a mob in about probably 15 seconds, 15 to 30 seconds, which sounds short, and it is, but you've got a good puller, you've got a good tank, you're going to go through these mobs. You're just going to pull through. It's going to be constant. This will become the most mana efficient spell in your set as far as damage goes. But we're talking about the rest of your buffs. So we covered, you have the best strength buffs in the game. You have one of the best AC/hit point buffs in the game. It's more AC than hit points versus the spell it overwrites for clerics. All over clerics do more armor class, and because they've got 3 spells just for armor class. They have 1 just for armor class, 1 for AC and armor class, that's the one you're overriding, and 1 for just hit points, the symbol line. Clerics are going to outbuff you when it comes to taking damage. They just are, but they don't get a damage shield. They don't get Strength of Earth, and they don't get Spirit of Wolf, which you're going to be putting on everybody, because everybody wants it. If things go bad and you need to run, everybody needs it. Put your spirit. So those 4 buffs are the 4 buffs you're going to be using all the time. 4 buffs. Amazing. And now there are people who prefer a druid over a shaman at low levels, because shaman, that debuff, that haste debuff, the slow for a shaman is phenomenal. And you also get to snare, which is part of crowd control. It's a minor part of crowd control, unless you're in a tight area like a dungeon. What snare does is it stops the mob when it starts to run away from running away at full speed. That's really what you use it for in groups, and you use it all the time. You don't want to use a high-level snare when you're in a group. Your lowest level snare will work just fine. You want a better snare when you're soloing, but in a group, you want that nice low-level snare. All you got to do is slow the guy down. You're not looking to stop him in place, and slow him down so the melee can get in there and keep punching him and take him down. Druids do all of that. They are fantastic. And for non-grouping, they get teleports. They get invis. They can turn you into a doggy, which is awesome. They can turn themselves into doggies, which helps you with faction when you're doing quests. And also, when you're in doggy form, you get buffs. Let's see. Doobie and doobie doo. We don't have dog form yet. Where are you at? Where are you at? Where are you at? Wolf form. So this is the lowest level wolf form you get. Wow, I'm talking myself into playing a druid here. I don't want to play a druid. I'm planning on playing a paladin. I want to actually melee this time around. Man, this is tempting. Illusion, wolf. 2. Increase movement by 30%. It keeps up with So, basically. Increase attack by 2 to 31. So, people ask for wolf form in groups. When you get share wolf form, which is, 10 levels, 5 levels away. Doobie and doobie doo, as I scroll through here and read when I'm on the air. Oh, that's a terrible thing to do. You got to keep up the talking. You don't want any dead air. Maybe it's because I come from listening to radio, but radio hates dead air. I don't see it here. It's in here somewhere. Share wolf form. Anyway, everybody gets that attack bonus, and melee love it. They may not love being in dog form, but they love the damage that comes with it. And that damage is incredible. And as a ranger who is doing some of your damage with your bow and arrow, there is nothing funnier than barking arrows out of your mouth, because that is what the illusion makes it look like. Excuse me. I'm sorry, that's hilarious. At 34, you get regen. Shaman get it earlier. But it hits, it's level 34, you will start putting regen on everybody in the group. That's not true. You will start putting regen on your tank, on your main assist, and on your puller. Also, if there are any necros or shaman, well, shaman will do it themselves. Shaman get it at 23, druids get it at 34. I told you, druids aren't better at anything than some other class. Every class is better at whatever druids do than druids, including teleports. Wizards get better teleports than druids. But druids are basically a straight B student. They can do a little bit of everything except tanking. There's going to be somebody who watches this and they're like, I can tank as a druid. Druid tanking is great. Look, you're wearing leather armor. Your AC is low. You can take a few hits. I'll grant you that. But let the plate boys deal with this. You have better things to do with your time, like having a charm pet, keeping buffs up. Even if you've got a shaman in the group and a cleric in the group, which, gotta tell you, man, you don't want more than 2 priests in a group, but there you go. It's gonna slow down. None of the priests are top damage classes. Those 3 classes, none of them are top damage classes. I'm sorry, it's just true. And unless the shaman is handling heals, which all the things a shaman can do, you're probably not. And if you've got a cleric in the group, you're not going to have the shaman handling heals. Anyway, I forgot my point. If you've got a shaman in the group and a cleric, if they know the game and they know how stats work, they're going to want you replacing the courage line with the skin line for buffs. Shaman will be handling sows and regens because they always do anyway. Let them handle it. You are going to handle strength because you have the better strength buffs, and you are going to be handling thorns. The only time people don't want your thorns is when the magician is on the ball and he's able to keep up, or she is able to keep up their damage shield. Usually mages are kind of just sitting there going, I set my pet in, why are you bothering me? I'm watching my stories on the TV right now. I sent in the pet already. I got on the mallow. Give me a minute, I'll stand up and nuke. Leave me alone. Yeah. I love mages. I love playing mages, but it is one of the easiest classes to play while distracted, which is why so many people who box six characters so they have their own group and they're running around, most of them are mages, usually 4 out of 6 at least. Anyway, if the mage isn't paying attention, you will be doing the damage shield. If there is no mage in the group, which there probably isn't, you will be doing the damage shield. The only other class in the game that gets a serious damage shield that can compete with, that gets a serious damage shield that people actually ask for, is Rangers. And their damage shields are all worse than yours because they get the same damage shields you do, only lower level versions. Okay, some people will ask, the thing is though, okay, 2 things. 1, some people will ask the enchanter for feedback, which is a decent damage shield. It does 16 points of damage. Yours is better. You have a better damage shield than enchanters. The only class that has, the class that, we talked about this already with bards. Bards have the best damage shields in the game, but they have to focus on that. And frankly, in grouping, they're only going to have up 1 damage shield, if that. And that 1 damage shield, which they probably won't have up, is going to be specifically targeted to whatever magic we're also dealing with at the time, because it gives a magic resist. They have better things to do with their time outside of raids than to get all 5 of their damage shields working at the same time. and some tanking and some duoing and some small group things here and there. But in regular grouping, you and your damage shield stacks with the bard's damage shield. So it's not a matter of either if you can have both. Yeah, druids are awesome. They're one of the most played classes. They're one of the easiest classes to play poorly and still do a great job. When played expertly, they're amazing. Because if you're doing charming and buffing, which is usually if you're in a group and somebody else is healing, you're going to be doing charming and buffing. If there's pets to charm. You are restricted to animals, so there are plenty of zones where there just aren't animals for you to charm. I'm thinking of the higher levels of unrest in particular, but also dungeons like Lower Guck. I don't think there's any animals in Lower Guck. There are animals. There's lots of animals in Soul B. I don't think there's any animals in the Hole. Ratmen don't count as animals. Yeah. So some of the dungeons you won't be able to charm. But if you're charming and buffing, which you can be in a lot of situations, you're going to have mana left over. You need to be able to cast Root. You need to be able to cast Charm. My general rule of thumb, and druids in the comments, you can tell me how idiotic I am for this, is when I'm charming and buffing, as long as my mana is above 50%, because I might need to do emergency healing, which happens, I keep the pet around. No, that's not it. I do keep the pet around, but that's not it. As long as I'm above 50% mana, I nuke when I'm in a group. If I'm charming, I will toss nukes as well. I might even do some, group CCing if it's necessary. Sorry. So my drink went down the wrong pipe when I was recording with Views. It was a whole thing. It was hilarious. But now I'm still trying to cough up like 2 drops of water. Anyway. Yeah. Druids are awesome. Druids are very fun to play. Oh, I'm so tempted. I really want to play a pal. I haven't played a melee in like 3 years. And that was a rather disastrous run with a ranger, which wasn't all that disastrous. I just couldn't get other people to believe I could tank, and they wouldn't put me in a group. Nobody was accepting me for groups from 55 to 60. I could only get groups with my guild because people think rangers suck. They do not. Rangers are amazing. We'll cover that when we do rangers. It took me like a week and a half to get to, of no-lifing it, because I was out of work at the time, of no-lifing it to get to 50 to about 55. And after that, I spent like a week and a half, and I got to 58, and I called it. I made an enchanter, because I can always make an enchanter, because I'm an enchanter. At one point, when I was enchanting, I held back, I think it was 9 mobs I kept under Mez while we were attacking the 10th. And then somebody brought another group on me, and I held that off. We lost 2 people. I held that off while the cleric got the reses. I lost count because this was in the hole, and only 3 of them were rock golems. I held on. I couldn't keep track of how many things I was mezzing. I was just mezzing everything. We survived. The 2 people needed reses, but we survived. The group continued on for another couple hours. I don't want to enchant, though. I can't leave groups when I'm enchanting. Which is not true. I can, but I feel bad if I don't get a replacement, and so I end up playing out of my own personal sense of obligation. I end up playing for additional hours when I want to be sleeping, because I'm a little stupid, and I feel guilty for leaving the group without an enchanter, because I know the group will break up, because it's really hard to CC without an enchanter or somebody who knows what they're doing with Root. And there's not a lot of people out there who know what they're doing with Root. And I didn't say Groot. I am not Groot.
I am Groot.
All right. Good night, everybody. Keep on trucking, you blam blam truckers.